Hey, it's Kevin Chang. Thanks for tuning in. This is a long overdue video about the Drumming Friend Forever MAFD. MAFD, or MAFD, stands for MIDI Adapter for DFAM. It's a way to control a Moog DFAM with MIDI. And it's the concept we released into the wild about 6 years ago with the original MAFD. This MAFD, the DFFMAFD for short, adds a bunch more features, including MIDI clock sync and the ability to control multiple DFAMs. As its name suggests, Drumming Friend Forever, it is also suited for controlling a DFAM in the context of a live drumming performance, along with other eurorack and MIDI gear. Since I am not a drummer, I will link a video in the description that shows a live drumming performance by our friend Amir Zeev. In the rest of this video, I'll demonstrate how I use the DFFMAFD to control a DFAM with a DAW. This is the DFFMAFD configuration tool. You can find it at sonoclast.com on the DFFMAFD page. You'll notice that I have my DFFMAFD set for original MAFD Plus operating mode, which is the mode that is designed for controlling a DFAM with a DAW, and it's set to receive on MIDI channel 1. Okay, so the first thing to do is patch my DFAM and sync its sequencer with the DFFMAFD. I have my DFAM powered on. It sounds like this. And I have my DFFMAFD powered on with the USB cable. The other end can be plugged into a computer or a USB power supply. Now I'm going to patch 2DFAM advanced clock to the DFAM's advanced clock. And now I'll press run on the DFAM. And now the DFAM's ready. The DFF is waiting for MIDI notes, and then it will trigger a step in the DFAM's sequencer. So I'll also connect this MIDI keyboard. It's not necessary if you're using a DAW, but it just makes it a little easier to show what's happening. So next I will sync the DFAM sequencer to the DFFMAFD. This is the way I correlate a MIDI note to a particular step on the DFAM. So if I play the C, you see it triggers step 5. So if I push this button, it will advance steps. So now I'm on 6, that triggers 6. So now this triggers 1, this C. So now each subsequent note triggers each step. So it goes like this. And of course I can play that in different patterns. And I can play other patterns. And just to be complete, the CV1 output can be patched to be controlled by the mod wheel. So for example, I can patch it to the pitch. And now when I play, I can adjust the pitch with the mod wheel. Or it can be patched to CV2, which responds to the velocity of the note. So I'm going to leave that disconnected now. So I'm going to leave this set up exactly like it is, and I'm going to switch to a view of my DAW so I can show you how I set it up in my DAW. So I'm using Bitwig, but these concepts work in other DAWs as well. First I'll demonstrate the most basic MAFD functionality, where I sequence the steps of a DFAM with MIDI notes. So I set up a track that sends MIDI notes to the DFFMAFD, right here. The DFFMAFD is a class-compliant USB MIDI device, so I select it to send notes to it, right here. And it's on MIDI channel 1. So I have this pattern here, which is just ascending 8 steps. And you can see I can trigger the steps of the DFAM using the piano roll. Right, so if I run this pattern, This is what it sounds like. And I can stop anywhere and I can restart. It'll start back at the first step. Just like any other MIDI note pattern. And of course I can change the order. So here's another pattern that runs backwards. That looks like that. So if I run the whole thing, it'll run forward and then backward. And of course I can change the tempo. So it follows whatever tempo I give it. So next I'll show how I set it up to do MIDI clock sync. So now I'll change the patch so that I'm using the clock out jack instead of the DFAM advanced clock jack. That's all I'm changing, and now I'll show you how I clock sync in the DAW. You can see here in the configuration tool that I have the clock out configured to do straight eighths, but there are many options for dividing the MIDI clock beat. And you can even use MIDI notes to trigger a second DFAM from the clock out jack. So back at the DAW, now I'm going to do clock sync. I'm going to disable this track, and I'm going to run it and change the tempo. You see I can stop it and restart it. I can add a bass pattern. So that concludes this demo. Please reach out at sonoclast.com if you have questions or leave a comment below. And please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.